Hey guys, Coach Sean here, and today we're going to be talking about staying physically active is key for chronic pain, and also talking a little bit about cross training. Get into what cross training I mean by that in a second. I'm not cross training in the sense of running and strength training in one session or anything like that. A little bit different, talking about injuries and different things like that. So today's episode, I just want to clarify something before I get into this, because I realize that under the wrong context, this could be taken as just tick-headed. In that today's episode is not about hashtag no excuses, finding ways to always train and going through the pain, pushing through the pain, no pain no gain, all that crack. That's not what this episode is about all. Now, there's a time where you need to rest and recover. There's time you need away from the gym and stuff like that. And the other thing with this episode, before I go into it more, is that if anything I say contradicts a physiotherapist or someone you are seeing, if you are struggling with pain right now and they say don't do something, yet you're like, oh well, this lad said, and I do this, being me, don't listen to me. Go with that person, because they're more acutely aware of exactly what you're going through. I'm just going to talk about my experiences coaching with people, and what I have found works in terms of dealing with pain. So like the saying goes, exercise is the cheapest form of medicine. And is that a saying? I think that's a saying. It's a saying now. We're going with exercise is the cheapest form of medicine. And I can talk, first about myself, my own issues, my own back issues. People who've listened to me for a while know that I suffer a lot of my lower back issues. But the more I train, the less I suffer them. If I stop training for the next 4 to 6 weeks, I can guarantee you my lower back will start seizing up. I can guarantee you I'm going to be in more pain when I walk, more pain when I move, more pain when I sleep. I'm not saying I massive chronic pain compared to some people out there, but I do have bad enough back issues that if I don't train for a while, that will cause them. Now, if I do the wrong thing in the gym as well, I know my limitations, what I'm capable of, what I'm not capable of. If I do the wrong thing, those lower back issues will flare up. So there is a fine line as we go through this episode. There is a fine line between too much, doing the wrong thing, and doing the right thing. But I know that different ways I move, that I can make myself feel better. And I know through different clients that I've had that they will suffer with pain, they'll feel sore, but when they go train and they get a routine and consistency going, that they feel a lot better. And it's hard for me to explain, because the simple thing is, I was looking up different research in this before doing this episode, is that like doctors don't know why exercise can help. So how the hell am I going to give you answers when doctors can't agree on this? And one of the research things I was looking at was there was a recent study done by the University of South Wales, and it said that a new evidence review has found that there's still no consensus between researchers about why exercise works for lower back pain patients, despite decades of studies on this topic. So they had a meta study on this. I think it was a lot of different studies on it, and they talked about lower back pain and how exercise does help, but they're not too sure why. But one of the things that study showed was that exercise improves your fitness, improves your mood, and improves your confidence, but that the chronic pain is complex. So, for example, I could tell you exercise I do. I do glute bridges, I do dead bugs, couch stretches, even lying your back, bend your knees, bring the knees side to side. My shoulders are pinned to the ground. I find that cracks my back and I feel so much better and looser, even though some people say definitely don't do that exercise. I found that working on my core, that works brilliantly for me, those exercises. Maybe some planks, different things like that, and I always include them in my warm-up. Now, you could include them in your warm-up, and you might feel, actually, Sean, that didn't do a whole hell of a lot on me, because your chronic pain and where the origin of the pain for your lower back comes from is different. So I'm after explaining a few different core exercises and couch stretches that loosen up my hips and stuff. You're like, how does that affect my lower back? Well, I notice tightness in my lower legs, not my lower legs, my lower body, that because of that could be a reason why I have issues in my lower back, and it's pulling on the hips in a different way, and it's putting more stress and strain on my lower back. That's what I feel, just through the way I've had different injuries throughout the years, that some, like, with pain, just because the pain's coming from that point, doesn't mean the pain it doesn't mean that that's the root cause, or the root cause of it could be somewhere else. So I knew those doing those exercises can help for me, but they might necessarily help for you. So you got to find the exercise, the pain, what you could do to help you get through that. And like that study found, that exercise improves fitness, mood, and confidence. The complete opposite I find is true. That if you are doing no exercise at all, then your fitness is obviously going to be down, but so's your mood, so's your confidence, and that's when different that's when pain can get a lot worse for you when you're sitting down, you have nothing to do but just think about it all the time. So now you might be saying, Sean, hang on a second, it's not my lower back, it's my arm that's sore. My arm is in a sling. How am I supposed to train my arm in a sling and I work my other arm and I'm doing all bicep curls and shoulder presses and everything else this other arm, and this arm's in a sling doing absolutely nothing? This is going to get really, really weak. This one's going to get really strong. I'm looking stupid. One arm's going to be 6 inches bigger than the other. It's going to look crazy looking around. Not actually true. So, like I talked about at the very start here, there's a thing called cross-transfer, cross-education, and I'm looking up the definition right now, so I'm going to butcher it. It's a neurophysiological, I said that right first time, neurophysiological phenomenon where an increase in strength is witnessed within an untrained limb, followed by unilateral strength training in the opposite contralateral limb. So, I've heard this before through different podcasts, different strength coaches, stuff like that. People like Joe DeFranco, Mike Boyle has talked about this as well. And I had a client who had a fall. I can't remember if she actually broke her shoulder or bone in her shoulder, or what exactly happened. But basically, her arm was in a sling. And I was talking to her. I was like, look, I said, there's a thing called cross transfer or cross education where we can still do training, but we're going to do lower body training because there's nothing wrong with your legs. So there's no reason why we can't do squats and lunges and just making sure balance is okay, because the last thing you want is a fall when you're doing lunges and you one arm's in a sling. So we don't want something happening to the other arm trying to protect yourself. So we can do this, but we can also train one arm only. So we'll do different things like different presses, different bent over rows, different bicep curls, just different things to get that arm moving, using bands for different exercises, doing that along with lower body training, so you can still train, and it's just going to be a lot better than sitting in the house doing absolutely nothing. Now, before I go any further, it's not like I can write up a study on this and say, because this is true with one person, this is true with every person, that it is definitely the way to go. But with this particular person, and hand on heart, this is true. They were saying that when they went back to the doctor after a couple of weeks, they were at first, before the train, they were saying this is gonna last 6 months in the sling, 9 months in the sling, and it's gonna be that bad. But because I don't know if it's because it's training, but that length of time was drastically reduced. In that it was 6 weeks or 8 weeks, she was out of the sling. And she was able to use that arm again. Now, we weren't doing a whole lot with that arm because she was still had very restricted movement, but she was still able to do a lot more as well. So my point is, there was times where you are training and you get a massive setback, you get an injury in the leg, injury in the arm, there's some sort of injury. There are still different things you can do in the gym, and you mightn't be as strong doing those exercises you were before. You might get as much out of it than if all your limbs were working at 100%. But going back to my whole point of this whole thing, you're going to be improving your fitness, your mood, and your confidence. And if you can work on them things and make yourself feel better, because exercise should be about feeling better physically and mentally, then that's what we should be doing. Exercise should be much more about those kind of things and keeping active than just about the scales, which is what training is a lot in January. I had someone recently actually tell me last week before on my boot camp, right before we started a live session, she was the first person in the Zoom. We were talking away, and she was like saying how she just had a checkup, she had rheumatoid arthritis, and that the doctor was like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And she puts it down to the strength training and stuff that she's been doing, and she's been very consistent with the sessions. She's at like the majority of them, she's missed very few, and she's like, that has helped so much. So like strength training, I'm not saying strength training is the absolute cure to arthritis or anything like that, but it could definitely help, and definitely help with that pain. So you need to evaluate yourself when you're going back into your training. what exercises are working for you. Listen to your body. What exercises are working for you? What exercises are not working for you? If there's anything that's causing, specific pain, obviously do not do it. But there's definitely exercises in most situations that you can do that you're going to get benefit from and feel better. And don't be afraid that if you can't train one leg, that you could definitely still train the opposite leg, and the same thing with the arms. And the research on that is very early, but it seems to be pointing towards that you're able to, if you can't work one limb, you'll be able to work the other, and does cross transfer between them both. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm glad to say that I have tried it. Not that I wanted to try it with a client, but it came up and I did it, and it did work. So, and I've heard strength coaches that have been in this field a lot longer than I have talk about how it's worked for them and their clients. So hopefully that could work for you. Once again, like I said at the very start, this is not about hashtag no excuses, train by any means necessary. But it's just about trying to lead a more active lifestyle. And when it comes to January and working in the gym, don't worry about just the scales. Now that wasn't a hard video to get through now, was it? I hope you guys got some value out of the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the Coach John channel, which is somewhere here. Hit that button, subscribe to the Coach John channel, leave a thumbs up. There should be a couple of other videos around here for you guys to check out. And that's all from me, from Coach John. Take care.